Hi all, thank you for joining us today on the 8th session on Learning Table Training Series. I'm Surendra Manoj and I'll be the host for today's session. In this session, we'll be learning about integration between Zoho Creator and Zoho Sites. We'll be also discussing about a few use cases and business cases. So before we get into the session, we have a few key points to be announced. All the attendees of the session will be placed on mute. If you have any questions, please do use the questions tab which is available in the left hand side. A recording of this session will be sent to all the attendees. Please do participate in the polls and surveys which we are initiating during and after the session. These feedbacks which you are giving us will help us to regulate the flow of the current session as well as to decide on the content which we are going to talk on the next session. So this is the agenda of today's session. We'll be starting with the introduction of Zoho Sites, followed by why Zoho Sites and what are the features which are available in Zoho Sites. We'll be discussing about why Zoho Creator and why we have to. We'll be discussing about why Zoho Creator and Sites integration, followed by a few use cases, and then we'll be showing you a demo, followed by a code walkthrough. Once the code walkthrough is done, we'll be discussing about a few points which we are supposed to remember while we are integrating Zoho Creator with Zoho Sites. Then we'll be discussing about a few business opportunities, and at the end, I'll be providing you with some additional information about our team, all the activities which we do, and our contact information so that you can reach out to us in case it's needed. So coming to introduction to Zoho Sites. So website has become a very integral part to any organization in this digital era. Since we started using uh, internet, everything or everyone who wants to understand about us, they just go to our website and then they come to us personally. So in order to make this website building process easier, Zoho Sites has been working, and Zoho Sites is an online low-code website builder, which enables us to build and publish websites with ease. We don't have to write multiple pages of codes to develop a website in Zoho Sites. Most of the building process is drag and drop or click and customize. So this allows even the non-IT professionals of our organization or anyone who wants to have a website for themselves to build and publish it with ease. And these websites can be customized to suit any of our requirements. So coming to why Zoho Sites, as we discussed, Zoho Sites website building process is mostly drag and drop or click and customize. So even without writing any code, we'll be able to develop our entire website and get it up and running using Zoho Sites. And the websites which we are building using Zoho Sites are not restricted to any vertical. So it can be used by any organization which is working in any industry. And we also have custom templates which are being professionally designed, and rather than starting from zero, you can start from enhancing these websites based on your requirements. We have the option to restrict the content or restrict the resources which you have inside the website, and we also have option to display content dynamically based on the user who has logged into the system or based on a group of users who are available in the system. And everything can be published to live using a single click. And the website which we are building for the web browser can automatically respond itself to the mobile screens as well. And social media widgets are by default enabled in Zoho Sites. So these are the major advantages which we have while we are going for Zoho Sites. And now let us understand a few features of Zoho Sites. When we say a few features, the four major ones are website customization. So it's very easy to customize. We also have the option for member portal, and we'll be looking at how we can set up the member portal. We'll be discussing about dynamic content, what is the dynamic content, how to establish the dynamic content, and we also have the option for integration. So integration is getting the data or transferring the data to another service which is other than Zoho Sites. And in our case, it will be Zoho Creator in the back end and Zoho Sites in the front end for today's session. So coming to website customization, so there are four major components which we have to understand while we are doing the website customization. The first one is element, the second one is section, next one is page and a menu. The element is a component which is placed in a page to interact with a particular user, any user who has logged into the system. So let us say we are keeping a button. That button is called as an element, and the button is placed inside a section, which is a container which is available in the Zoho sites. And the elements and sections we can simply drag and drop into the place and then configure them. And a page is a collection of such elements and sections which are being grouped together to provide us with a certain group of information. Then then we have to discuss about the menu. The menu is the navigational way which the users are using to access the protected resources. The menus are the navigational route used by the users to access the resources which are available in the website. So we have to make sure that we are configuring the menus properly in such a way that the users are not able to access the protected or unwanted resources are open. And coming to member portal, so the member portal is like restricting access to certain resources based on the login status. So we can have certain resources accessible only after the people log into our system, and it's not restricted to just logging. We can have subgroups and say, okay, so if a person is coming in and he's having so and so permission, this only these set of resources are supposed to be accessed by that person. So those kinds of things can be helped using the groups and the inviting. While we are inviting a person to our site, we can automate the invite process and group allocation process using APIs. We'll be discussing how we are going to do that, and it is followed by the dynamic content. So the dynamic content is a combination of front end, which is view, the back end, the business logic, which is the function, and the trigger, which is the JavaScript functions. So we'll be discussing about how we can establish that. And now let us discuss why we have to integrate Zoho Creator with Zoho Sites. So whenever we are logging into a system, so right now nowadays the website is highly dynamic, and the data which we are offering or displaying to the user is very personalized. To achieve those kinds of dynamic display, we have to have a backend which is capable enough to automate most of the process, understand the activities which are being done by the user, and return us with a response as fast as possible. So to achieve all this, we can keep Zoho sites in the front end and Zoho Creator in the back end, where Zoho Creator can handle or automate all the process and transfer the data to Zoho sites via API calls or packets of data. So talking about a few use cases, so the places where we can use Zoho sites and Zoho Creator integration. One such use case is a healthcare sector, where we can provide portals in Zoho sites to the doctors and patients, and the transaction between the doctors and patients can be handled using Zoho Creator in the backend. And the same comes for the recruitment process, where we will be providing two different portals to the job seekers and the recruiters, and the communication or the transaction between the job seekers and recruiters can be handled by using Zoho Creator in the backend. So coming back to the feedback and review management system and weather forecasting data, dynamic display of research data, all these processes can be achieved using the integration of Zoho Creator and Zoho Sites. So taking the healthcare sector in detail for discussion. So let's say when we say about a healthcare system or a hospital, the major interaction happens between a doctor and a patient, and this is being facilitated by the hospital. Right? So in this case, what we can do is we can give a portal to the doctor and a portal to the patient, where they can interact with each other and in the back end, we'll be automating the process using Zoho Creator. A small example will be automation of the appointment booking system. The doctor will be listing all the available slots, and the patient will be picking one slot from the slots displayed by the doctor. But we have to make sure that there are no two patients picking the same slot, and these kind of automations can be handled by Zoho Creator in the backend, and the respective data can be displayed to both doctor and patient so that the transaction remains smooth. And coming to the recruitment process, the same, we can give two portals. One is for the job seekers and another one is for the recruitment portal. And both these portals can coordinate to each other using Zoho Creator, so that the transaction or the expectation of the job seeker and the recruiter can be matched, and the transaction can be completed smoothly. So now let us take a look at a small demo. We'll be taking you through a property sales process which we have built using Zoho Sites and Zoho Creator integration. In this property sales process, we have buyers, we have sellers, and both these buyers and sellers will be interacting with the system via Zoho Sites. But the backend of this system is Zoho Creator. The functions which can be done from the buyer side are requesting for portal access. They will be updating the profile. They will be having the option to view the profile. They will be having the option to view the properties and show the interest. And coming to the seller, they will be accessing for the portal access. Once they request for access, if they are a seller, we have to go and approve the access to the seller from the backend, which will be handled by the organization which is coordinating. And once they get the access, they will be given option to update their profile. They will be given option to add properties to the system. And once they have added all the properties, they will have the option to view all the buyers who are interested in their system. So let me take you to the site and I'll explain how the portals are working and how it is happening in the back end as well. So let's get started. So this is the portal where two of our users have logged in. One is surendramanoj85@gmail.com, and this person is considered as a buyer. And the other one is surendramanoj91@gmail.com, who is being considered as a seller. Both these people have logged into the same site, but they are in different groups, and we have controlled access to the resources based on the groups they are in. So let me sign out of one of the profiles and explain you how the request access is happening. So I'm signing out of the system. Let me take two dummy users who are requesting for access. So once I sign out of the system, the only resource which I have access to, or the only page which I have access to, is the home page, where I have the option to request for access. So I'm requesting for access. I'll be taken to a creator form where I'll be providing them with information on the purpose of why I'm here. So let me say there's a person with name C, and the email is c@c.com, and let us say this person is here to buy a property. So we have written a logic in saying that if this person is here to buy a property, we can send the invite automatically. But if the person is here to sell a property, we'll have to manually validate that person and then invite him into the system. So let me say the c.c is here for buying a property. So I'm submitting it. The same if there is a person named D and the mail ID is d@d.com, and the purpose is here to sell a property, I am submitting it. Both of them have filled the same form. And if we come to the backend of sites, so here we can see this is the creator application which is handling all the transactions on the Zoho site. So if I get into request for access, we can see the person c.c@c.com has been automatically approved because this person is here to buy a property. But the person d.d is yet to be approved because this person is to sell a property. If we get into Zoho Sites member portal, so getting into settings, and inside settings we have the member portal. Inside member portal we get into members and pending invites, we can see the person C.C have got an invite by default, but the person D.D have not. So let us go and approve this person. So I'm approving it. Once I approve the request, email invite will be sent to that person, and the same will be reflected over here. If I can reload, we can see a mail has been sent to d@d.com. So after approval, so by doing this, we are automating the flow. So if it's a buyer, we can they can directly get the invite. By if they are a seller, we have to manually validate. So we don't have to go and approve every user. So we can simply filter the request, and while we are approving, by default we'll be assigning the groups to which these users belong. So for example, here I have accepted surendra91 at gmail.com as a property buyer. So when this person logs into the system, so I think that's it. Okay, so we can see by default Surendra Manoj 91 at gmail.com has been logged in as a seller. So when this person logs into the system, we'll be able to see that this person has been allocated all the options which is required to sell a property. But the same when Surendra Manoj 85 logs in the system, this person has been considered as a buyer, and all the option to buy a property has been displayed to them. Okay. And the allocation of the group has been automated right from the sign up. We don't have to go to the member portal and allocate the groups to these people. So right from inviting, these processes have been automated. So let me show you all the transactions which can be handled using these portals. Let's start with the buyer. The buyer can get into their information, and they can see all the info related to the buyer. So in case if any of the information is missing, they can go click on add details, and they'll have the option to fill all the details, and once they submit it, the information will get reflected to the buyer info page automatically. And the next action which they can do is to view all the properties which are listed in the site. So here we can see there are 3 properties which are listed. So one in home in ECR, home in Los Angeles, and home in San Diego. And all these 3 properties are being pulled out from Zoho Creator's form. So if I can show you the Creator form, here you can see we have 3 properties listed in Zoho Creator form, and these are the 3 properties which are being reflected over there. And the buyer can go and show interest to any of the properties. So for example, let me just remove the interested properties from this home in San Diego. Let me edit it, show the interested parties, and I'm applying it. So using right now there's no interested parties for the home in San Diego. So let me get into the buyer's profile. Here we can see there's a section called favorites. So this favorites is a section where we display all the properties to which this particular buyer has expressed their interest. So they as of now they have expressed interest for 2 properties, and the home in San Diego is having no interested parties. So we just removed it from the creator side. So let me go and show how they are expressing their interest. Let me get into home in San Diego. Once we click on a particular property, all the details about the property, the specifications, the amenities which are available, and the address and the organization to which they belong to, all are being displayed. And this ID is the creator records record ID. We are displaying it here just to show you that we are passing the record ID of the creator record at every step. So once we have gone through all the process, the buyer can simply say, "Hey, I'm interested in this," and a JavaScript function gets executed. So the JavaScript triggers a function which we are written in dynamic content, and it is updating its value. So here, what it's doing is it's adding the email ID of the person who is interested to the interested parties field. If I can click on it, we can see right now that Surendra Manoj 85 has expressed his interest in this property in San Diego. Now, if I get into the favorites section of bio, here we can see earlier there were only two properties, and right now, since this person has shown his interest to the third property as well, all the three properties in the all the three interested properties are being displayed over here. So coming to the seller side, the seller will have the option to add a property. Once they get into the system, and they can list any number of properties over here, and all these properties will be captured in the property list form which we just saw, and the seller will have the option to view all the listed properties. So there may be n number of properties listed, but the seller will be having access to only the properties which are listed by them. So they can get into any of these property, and they can check if there is any interested buyer for this. So they can go and check if there is any interested prospect, and they will be given a list of all the prospects who are interested. So if we can choose a different property, uh, here if we can choose home in Los Angeles, and if we get into show prospects, we can see there are two people who are interested in this property. So by getting into any of these people, they will be given the option to understand about that buyer, and then they can take it up by scheduling a tour, or they can go with face-to-face interaction and closing the deal. So all these front end, so both the buyer and seller are communicating to each other using Zoho Sites, but the automation process, all the invite requests or all the content display, everything has been handled by Zoho Creator in the backend. So let me take you to the code example and show you how this has been achieved in Zoho Sites. We'll be starting with the member portal, and how we can allocate resources to the groups, and how we can get the group ID, and then we'll be discussing about how we can automate the invite process, and based on that invite process, how we can get the uh, how we can invite the users along with the group ID and everything. So this is the this is the Zoho Sites editor. So as we discussed, we have elements, and the elements are placed inside the sections. So this is a section, and everything is click and configure. So we can just go to the configuration and change all the stuff. So this is about the customization. Coming to the member portal, getting into settings, we have the option called member portal. So in member portal, we have the options like whether we can enable the sign up, whether we can allow the users to sign up directly to the system. For this example, I have disabled the sign up. So the only way they can come into the system is by requesting for access. So if you want to keep your portal open, we can go and give the enable for sign up option. And then comes the members. So the members is the section where we can see all the members who are available in the member portal, and in case we want to invite any of the user, we can just click on invite and add their email address, and invite will be sent directly. And if we want to add them directly to the groups, we can choose the group to which we want to add them, and once they sign up, they will be by default added to the group. But what if we want to automate this invite process? So that is what the next step. So we don't have to go, or we won't know if, who is going to request for the invite, right? So in that case, what we are going to do is we are going to get the group ID. We are going to allocate resources to the group and use that group ID along with the email address to invite that user. So we have the option to create a new group, and I have already created two groups. One is for buyer and other one is for seller. So if I can get into any of the group, so if I get into buyer, I can see all the members who are associated to this group, and under the pages we'll be having all the details about the resources which are accessible only to the buyers group. So if a person who doesn't belong to this group is trying to access it, we will not allow them to access. So that is about allocation of the resources. And if a resource is not allocated to any of the groups and it is open, anyone can access that. So we it's not restricted to any certain group. So we have to make sure that all the resources we want to protect or all the resources we want to regulate has to be associated to appropriate groups. And coming to invite, so the moment we get into the group, right, so in the URL we'll have the group ID. So this group ID has to be sent via API as a payload while we are inviting a user to the system. So this automation of invite is being handled by Zoho Flow, and we can see Zoho Flow is using the webhook method. So once I get edit mode, so the webhook is accessing or accepting a payload in JSON format, and once we make a post request to this URL along with that payload, action gets triggered in Zoho Sites, which is invite user. We also have the option to remove a user from the group. We can do that as well. While we are inviting a user, we have configured two fields. One is to get the group ID. While we are inviting, we tell them, okay, this person belongs to so and so group. If he is a seller and he belongs to the seller group, and he is a buyer, he belongs to buyer group. So we will be writing logics to automate the allocation of group ID along with the email which we are inviting. So if I can take you to the place where we are writing the logic. So this is the section where we are writing the logic to approve the seller. So here we can see this is a update request. This is the update task which we are doing. And if the purpose of visit is here to sell a property, so by default the system will hold that invite. So we are saying, okay, so we are changing the status to be approved, and we are giving the group ID. So this group ID is the group ID of seller, which we can take it from here. Member portal, get back to group list, and if I go to seller, and in the URL we can see we have the group ID. So this is the group ID which I have configured over here, and this URL is the URL which I got from Zoho Flow. Using this URL and the group ID and email as body parameter, we are making a post URL request, and this post URL initiates an invite to the user, and using that invite, the user can sign up into the system. So this is how we are automating. The same, a similar kind of logic has been written on successful submission of the form request access, so that if that person is a buyer, the invite will get sent automatically. And coming to the next one, so this is how we protect the resource, and coming to displaying the data to the system. So that's where the dynamic content comes into play. So if I can take you to the portal one more time, here we can see the moment the seller logs in and he clicks on seller info, the information about the logged in seller is being displayed. There are multiple sellers who are available in the system. So if I can come to creators backend, so we can see under seller details there are multiple sellers who are available, but we are displaying the content which is related to that particular seller. So these kinds of customization or the content display can be achieved using dynamic content. So the dynamic content the dynamic content consists of two parts. One is front end, which is done in HTML and object oriented programming, and the other one is functions, where we write the business logic using deluge scripts. So let me take you to the dynamic content part. So we will be discussing about how a function is getting executed first, then followed by how we are passing parameter to a function, and how we are triggering JavaScript in the view. So this SLI1. So this is the view which is displaying all the properties which are listed in the organization to the buyer. So here, this is the list. Let me take it close to that buyer. So the moment the buyer says properties, all the properties which are associated to this buyer is being displayed. So this action has been handled. So here you can see there are three properties, and this action has been handled using this view. So this view is starting by executing a function. Here we can see there's a function called get property list 1 is getting executed, and this get property list 1 is a deluge script which is just fetching all the data from the creator form and passing it on to the view. So let me execute it. Here we can see this delete function is returning us with a list of maps. So every record in this list is in a map format, which is having key value pair. So using this map, we are displaying the data. So the get property list 1 is returning us with a list of maps, and this list is again iterated. So we can see the candidate list is the list which is holding all the records, and we are iterating through every element in the candidate list. So for candidate in candidate list, so whenever we are trying to execute something, whenever we are trying to execute a logic, we have to enclose it within the flower bracket and a percentage symbol. So whenever there is a variable which is to be displayed, so here for example candidate list 1, so this candidate list 1 is the output of another function which is image, and this function takes a parameter as id. We'll be discussing about how the parameter has been passed on. So in this case we are just getting the record id from the variable candidate. So passing this record id as a parameter to this function, we are getting the public URL of the image. So we are displaying the image of that property which is being uploaded. So this URL, this image public URL has been obtained as a result of this function, and it has been passed as a source to the image tag which we have placed in the HTML. And similarly the property title has been populated, and all these things are happening inside the for loop. So once we are opening a for, we are also supposed to end a for. So here we can see whenever we are writing a logic or executing a function, we are enclosing it within a flower bracket and a percentage symbol. But whenever we are displaying a variable name, it is enclosed within a double flower bracket. So enclosing it in a double flower bracket makes it as a variable value. If we are not enclosing it within any brackets, then that value becomes a static one. So here we can see we are starting by executing the function property list 1, and inside the property list 1 we are executing another we are iterating through the output of this function in SLI1, and in the image function we can see we are fetching a particular record from creator, zoho.creator.get record by id, and the parameter id is being passed to this function, and from this id from this output we are getting the file path, the public path of the image, and we are returning it as a string which is used as the source to the image. So this is about the display part. Now let us come to the next part, where on click of a particular property, so let us say I am clicking on home in ECR, I am taken to a new view where all the details about the property is being displayed, all the amenities, everything has been displayed, right? So for this I have to pass the record id as a parameter to the next function which is getting executed. So for this, what we are doing is, this is the syntax which we are following there. So the value which we are displaying is the candidate.property title, so which is every record's property title. So the DC on hyphen bind dot click, so we are enabling that this property title will be clickable, and the next view which we are going to load is property details chosen, and we are passing a parameter which is id. So the property detail chosen starts with execution of a function display property detail, which takes a parameter id. So we are passing the parameter id over here to the next view. Okay. So next comes the property detail chosen. The property detail chosen starts by executing the function, which is display property detail. The display property detail again is a fetch request from Zoho Creator using record ID. So this is the display property detail. Here we can see Zoho.creator.get record by ID. So this get record by ID is taking a parameter ID. So this ID is being obtained from the previous view, and the syntax to get the ID is by mentioning it as request underscore object dot parameters dot ID. Okay. So using this, we'll be executing two functions. One is the display property detail and another one is the image. As we discussed, the image will be providing us with the public URL of the image, which is fed as a source, and the display property detail will be providing us with a map, which is having all the details about that property chosen. Here we can see for every title we are displaying the variable name. So under property title, we are displaying the variable name home in ECR. Under property details, all the details about the property are being displayed, and so on. So these actions are being controlled in this view. And in this view, we also have one more option of showing how showing that we are interested in purchasing this particular property, right? So to handle that, we are executing a JavaScript function. So let me zoom out, and at the end here we can see we have this button which is having the text as interested, and on click of the button. So in the earlier case, while we were looking at SLI1, so when we said DC bind click, it was true, and then we said DC view, which is pointed towards the next view in the system. So in our case, what we are in this case, we are not loading a new view. We are just triggering the function without any view and getting the task done. So once they say, okay, I am interested, a function which is getting executed, and it's returning us with a value saying, okay, this particular record has been updated successfully. With the data which we are updating is the email address. So in order to trigger this, we are writing a function in the JavaScript, which is main.js. So here we have the option. Once we click on this, we will be provided with this main.js. And so this is how we write a JS function. So we start with by defining a function, then we give the function name along with the parameters it take, and the URL of that function which is supposed to execute has been obtained by this syntax. It's starting with slash followed by options.dc name plus the function slash update detail. And once this this function gets executed, it is returning us with a response, and we are alerting that response saying, okay, this data has been successfully added. So we discussed that the view which is being programmed is done using the HTML object oriented method, right? So we are returning this function as a value to a key. So this key is a variable name, the button click is a variable name, and this is the actual name of the function. So while we are calling this function inside our view, we'll be using the variable name rather than using the actual name of the function. So here we can see in get property details chosen, while we are at the end, here we can see on click, we are calling the function button click, which is the variable name assigned to btn click. And once we trigger that function, the action gets executed, and we'll be getting the appropriate data as output. And so all these views are having the HTML, and we can write our external CSS in the style sheet. So here we have a style sheet which is having style.css file, and we can write all our CSS over here, and this CSS takes effect in wherever places we use them in the view. So this this is how we are dynamically displaying data to the users. So coming to a discussion about use cases, right? Before getting into the business case, we'll be discussing about a few pointers to remember. So the first point is, while we are updating the dynamic content, right, we have to make sure that we are publishing the view or the function individually before we are publishing the site. So in Zoho Sites, we discussed that there is a one-click publish. So let me get the view. So here we can see inside there is a one-click publish. So if we hit on publish, every change we have made in the website will be going live. But when it comes to the dynamic content, right, we have to make sure that we are publishing the dynamic content individually. So the reason behind this is, if there is a dynamic content which we are working on and we are not ready to get it live, and if but the other components, other changes which we are making in our website are supposed to be made live. In that case, we can go for publish. But if we want to publish the dynamic content, we have to publish them individually. And the next one is, while creating a function or a view name, we have to make sure that there's no space in the available in the name field. If not, the function won't get created. And while writing a function, we have to make sure there's a proper setup for parameters and return types, so that we can get the desired output. So the parameters and return types of the functions can be set from here. If we get into a function, we can create a function, and the parameter can be obtained by editing it. So once we say uh, what return type this particular function is supposed to give us, and if it is taking any arguments as input, we can go and add arguments and set the arguments data type. Only with these data or these inputs, the system will understand and process the data appropriately. And we have to make sure that we are giving the right return type. So here in this case, we can see the direct calling of this function, get property list one, will be giving us a map which has a key, and which has the key data and all the values, and the entire list will be a value to that particular key. So what we are doing is, we are getting that key and returning that value, so that the entire output is in the form of a list. So we have to make sure that we are doing that. And while we are protecting the resource, right, we have to make sure all the resources are associated to appropriate groups. And in case we have a misconfiguration in the group, so to show you, I have purposefully misconfigured one of the pages in the seller property side. So this is the seller info. If this person tries to add the details, and he's taken to a resource which is available in the buyers group, so this person is not provided any access. But if that buyer profile buyer profile page is not protected or not associated to any other group, the file will be accessible by this person. So it will be like the seller will be updating their info on the buyer side. So that's not a good thing. So we have to make sure that the resources which are protected are associated to the appropriate groups as well, to avoid the confusion or mismatch in the flow. And while automating the invite of members, we have to make sure that we are allocating them with the correct group ID. Okay. So in case there is any mismatch of group ID, again the purpose of the person who's entering into the system will be changed, and it will create a few confusions. And while we are fetching the data, we have to make sure we are fetching only the relevant data, rather than fetching all the data into the functions of sites and then processing them and sending it over. It's always better to include the criteria and then fetch the data which we want. And similarly, while we are passing the information to the views, it is always better to do all the filtrations and manipulations in the function side, rather than getting the data into the views and then writing logics to filter and manipulate the data in the views. So with this points to remember, let us get into a few business opportunities which we can harness by establishing this integration between Zoho Creator and Zoho Sites. The first we'll be discussing about a vertical market. So it will be industry specific. Uh, we can start with the educational sector. Whenever there's education sector, there's a major information transfer which is happening between the education institution and the students. So let it be academic calendar, let it be events, let it be scorecards, let it be any other related information. The students can be provided with a portal in Zoho Sites, and they can use Zoho Creator in the backend, where Zoho Creator will be automating all the processes regarding the academics and other stuff of the student, and it will display the data in Zoho Sites. So the students will get access to the information in a more better UI. And coming to the healthcare sector, we can build portals for the doctors and the patients, and using the creator in the backend, we can automate the entire process of automate all the transactions which are happening between the doctor and the patient. And we can even automate the other processes, such as once a doctor prescribes a medicine to a patient, the notification can be sent to the pharmacy, and if there's any test which has been referred to this patient, the information can be sent to the lab technicians, and all these processes can be automated with Zoho Creator at the backend, and Zoho Sites can be handling displaying the data in the front end. And coming to the tourism industry where the travel agencies display a lot of information about various packages which they give, the details about the subscription or the details about the travel and all these things. They can do the display process in Zoho Sites, and all the backend processes like the subscription to travel agency or the ticketing or the payment process, and the checklist which has to be completed before sending the person to travel, and all these kinds of automations can be handled using Zoho Creator in the backend. So coming to the corporate sector, where they will be conducting a lot of events and trainings which they will be holding, and all the training and event related information can be displayed in Zoho Sites. Zoho Creator can handle the processes like automating the registrations, handling the cancellations, and in case there is any reminder to be sent, it can be automated, and depending on the number of tickets, if there's any discounts to be given, all these kinds of processes can be handled by Zoho Creator in the backend. And once we establish this integration, most of these processes can be automated, and we can get a very powerful website which can display the content. Coming to the horizontal market, talking, right? So that it's like it's not specific to any particular industry. It's a group of opportunities which can be placed. So we can simply say it as entertainment sector, which includes movies, which includes season-specific events, tourism, etc. And they can display all the data in Zoho Sites, and creator can be in the backend, which will be feeding in data to the system, and the users who will be coming to the Zoho Sites will be logging in and understanding about these events from Zoho Sites. And coming to marketplace, let us say there is a dealer and customer who wants to interact with each other. So there's a software client and a customer who wants to get a software built, and they can get into the system. They can understand the location of that user. They can understand the portfolio of this client, and then they can decide about whether they have to go with this person or not. And all these kinds of understanding and the transactions which are happening can be handled by Zoho Creator in the backend, and Zoho Sites can be held in the front end, so that both the customer and the service provider are having a better UI. And coming to the e-commerce sector, where we can display all the details about the product and everything using Zoho Sites, and the processes like automating the shipping, the and other processes like tracking the shipping, payment, managing inventory, getting the order details, and creating orders. So these kinds of processes can be automated using Zoho Creator in the backend. Coming to industry specific business case, like travels, libraries, blog, magazine, publishing, all these kind of information or all these industries work on a subscription mode, right? So the subscription handling can be done or defined using Zoho Creator, where Zoho Creator can Zoho Creator can access or automate the processes like subscription, new subscription, renewal, expiry, and all the information about the subscription can be displayed in Zoho Sites. So with this, we are coming to the end of our technical session of integrating Zoho Creator with Zoho Sites, and let me give you a few additional information about our team. So, what are the streams in which we work on, and what are the functionalities each and every team handles, and the way or the means you can contact our teams. So, the first team which we'll be discussing about is our account management team. Zoho Creator account management team has a dedicated regional account management system. So every region will have its specific account manager, and these account managers will be helping you with the pricing support as well. So they'll be providing you with best offers, and in case a custom pricing is required, these account managers will be helping you with the custom pricing. So in case there is a RFP assistance or a proposal submission assistance is needed, our account managers will be helping you with them. And if you are planning for a go to market for any product, and you need support in planning, or if you need any support in going to the market strategies, so our account management team will be helping you in getting through those difficulties which you are facing. And then comes the trainings and certifications request. So in case you are establishing a new team to the system, and you want to get them trained or certified, so you can reach out to our account management team who will arrange you for the trainings and certification slots which we are handling. And coming to the enablement documents and case studies, marketing materials, etc., our account management team will be providing you with the best documents and the details which are available. And they also help you with the operational assistance, like in case you want to get any support and you don't know which person you want to reach, or in case you are having a bottleneck in technical solutioning side and you don't know which person you have to reach, they will be helping you out to reach the appropriate person for getting that issue sorted out. And then comes our partner training and solutions team. And our training team actually handles all the training activities which are happening to everyone. So we start with fundamental to advanced training to creator and creator partner leads. That we also provide end-to-end training to Zoho partners and new creator partners who are exploring creator, and we do advanced demo to our partners and our partner clients. We conduct month-on-month knowledge reinforcement trainings and webinars. We also help you in upskilling and cross-selling you and your team. We conduct regular webinars on new feature and release updates, and we are also focusing on the regional training. We'll be also helping you with the enablement document, and if you have any queries regarding that training, we'll be also helping you out with that. And coming to the solutioning team, we also provide you support with POC building for partners and partner clients. If you are facing up with any technical solution related issue, we'll be helping you out with the best way to get to or the get around that technical bottleneck which you are facing. and we'll be also helping you in designing a better solution by giving suggestions on the architecture, data structure, and data flow process. We also support to Zoho partners who are not actually creator partners, but who are trying to explore the feasibility of a particular project in Zoho Creator. So, to reach out to our account management team, you can write to us at partnership at zohocreator.com and partner-support at zohocreator.com. So, this will directly take you to our account management team. And if you want to reach out to our partner training and solutions team, please to write to us at partner-solutions at zohocreator.com and partnership at zohocreator.com and partner-support at zohocreator.com. So this will take you directly to the Zoho Creator partner training and solution team. And so these mail IDs will be shared to you in the chat by our co-trainers. So please do store them or have them for your future reference. So with this, we are coming to the end of today's session. We have our next session which is happening on 14th July and it is 9 p.m. IST. The link for this session is shown in this screen, and the same link will be shared to you by our co-trainers in the chat section. We'll be also initiating a connect post, and email reminders will be sent to all the invitees. So please do register this link and continue the learning with us. So if you have any questions, please do use the questions tab which is available in the left hand side. Our co-trainers will be actively answering those questions, and we'll be leaving this session open for a few more minutes, and then we'll be closing this session. And thank you once again for joining us in this session, and please do register for our upcoming sessions as well and continue your learning with us.